Publishing an audiobook can be really a big task, and especially for newbie authors out there. But believe it or not, actually, one of the longtime followers and supporters of this podcast made it very much possible and pretty affordable, especially for multiple voice actors that you'll kind of learn about. Her name is S.L. Michaels, also known as Samantha to me. So if you hear me refer to her as Samantha throughout the interview, you'll understand. Well, she turned to writing after watching the movie Inception. This inspired her, so she took to writing Inception fan fiction. From there, her passion for writing grew even stronger. She lives a quiet life in the forests of Northeast Florida with her 3-year-old son. You can also find her on her YouTube channel, and I highly recommend you check it out at SL Michaels. Let's go ahead and jump into this interview where we talk a little bit more about hiring voice actors as well as artificial intelligence for voice narration on audiobooks. Share with me the process you went through to produce your audiobook.
Okay, so what I did was first, like I said, I had my narrators, and everything was done actually privately through email. We just were emailing each other. First thing I did was I found Logan first, and I got in touch with her and said, hey, is this something you want to do? And also, how much are you? How much do you charge? Yeah. Because, that's the big concern for, I think, every self-published author. How much is this going to cost me?
Yeah.
And like I said, I was seeing her on Helvetica Dubs and this channel, and they were doing this comic dub called Lore Olympus. And this thing is huge. It's a big thing on Webtoon, if you know anything about those it's another platform for artists to draw and have that out there. But they were dubbing this thing, and it had this massive following. And I'm like, are these like professionals? Do they have agents? Like, how much are they going to cost? So we were texting back and forth, and she was very excited to do it. She's never done an audiobook before. So she was like itching to do it. So we worked out a number that I was very, very happy with. My book is 75,000-ish more words. And she actually is the main, and it's cut into told two different point of views. She cut, and so since she has the most part of it, she only charged me $2,400. And yes, $2,400, and
for a 75,000 word manuscript.
Yes.
That's really good, to be honest. And I think there's a lot of people that are probably getting really like, let's put it into comparison. What would you normally have to spend on, like, say, a 75,000 word manuscript for another type production team?
Yeah, probably $3,000, maybe more, maybe $5,000. It could probably range up to $5,000. Yeah. So I was like, sold, yes. And I loved her. I loved the voice of the character that she did. And I also took it in the sense of, this comes with a following. Because at the time when I found this webtoon, Lore Olympus, it had ended. And they cannot do another season because of copyright issues and everything. So I was like, wow. And they would actually go live on YouTube. You can find all this on YouTube and have the live chat. I'd get into the chat and I talk to these, like, all the fans and say, hey, what if she did an audiobook? And they were like, oh yeah, I would definitely buy it. So I said, okay, I got a fan. I got a following for this. So yeah. I got her, and I sent her the book. She read it, and she says, yep, I'm going to do it. So she would record for me, and she would send me the whatever she recorded for each chapter. I'd listen to it, and if I didn't, like, if she said something that was wrong or I didn't like it, I would email her back or whatever. We did everything through email, or I'd even call her because she only lives 2 hours away from me, come to find out. And we would, so we would just get,
the small world.
So we would just get in touch, and she would do everything. And that girl is a beast. She did it in a month. Yeah. She was awesome. Wow. And then I had the other point of view, the guy. So things were not working out well with one that I had lined up. And then, so I started again. It all went back to Lore Olympus because the comic is a Greek tragedy with Persephone and Hades. So the guy doing the voice of Hades, oh my word, this guy has like a girl following big time after him. So I got in touch with him. His site name is Bubba the Carlos. And I got in touch with him, said, would you like to do this? He goes, yes, I would love to do this. I've never done anything like this. And since his part was not as big, he charged me only $500.
Okay, not too bad. So you're $2,400 for the original narration, and then another $500. So we're about $2,900 in the hole right now.
And that's it.
Okay.
Because after that, and he was the same way, he did just as Logan. I sent him his parts. He'd read them, send them to me through the email. I'd read it, I'd listen to them, and then if I needed anything, just get in touch, and they would do it, no extra charge. They would re-record everything, and so that's how we did it. And I did the whole editing. I put the whole thing together myself. So that's...
Whoa, so
yes.
You got the raw tracks and you had to mix it down to make sure it was ready for ACX specs. How was that process?
That was actually fun. I love doing stuff like that. I got to listen to it. There was some, especially with, I learned with recording and on voice actors, they would stop. If they messed up, they just stop. But then it's silence and then they start again. So I had to really listen, go in, cut, edit out all that. But I'm used to that working with like my videos I put on my channel and all of that. So that was a lot of fun. So I would splice it, and half the time I would sit there like, no, I don't like how this sounds. So I would find something that they found. I would rewrite in like a sentence in my book, and I could splice and put everything together. So half the time, that's not even what they originally said. I mixed and spliced that all together, and it ran just so smooth, and I had a lot of fun doing that.
Interesting. So how long was the finished product when you got it all produced?
It's almost 8 hours.
8 hours?
Yes.
Oh, my gosh.
Yes.
Okay, so question then. I mean, when it comes to, you had two people that went through and narrated, and then you got the raw tracks and you had to go through and essentially edit it all down and then master the tracks. How long did it take for you to produce this entire thing from beginning to end?
Okay, so it took a couple months only because when I had all of Logan's tracks first, because after she was, like I said, she was a beast. She gave me all of it first, and I worked on hers while I was waiting on Bubba's track because he came in a little bit later. So when I got his, and then so I would do his, but I had Logan's first. Hers was ready, so then I could just put it together for like one chapter. And so that took me I'd say probably about 3 months.
Wow, not too bad. And I mean, just to be clear, this is your first audiobook, right?
Correct.
Wow, and you were able to go and put this through ACX's Audio Lab with no issues then?
Find a Way. I went through Find a Way Voices.
Okay.
And I went through it, and they did say that I had to have it at a certain decimal. So I would go through, what is it? It's the Audex audio. It's what's it called? I have it here, but it's I had to go through another program, which I already had, and I just converted it and put the what they required, and it was so simple, and it went all through.
Nice. That's not too bad. I mean, geez, 3 months work. But I imagine since you've gotten used to this, do you anticipate that you're going to do the same thing for future audiobooks?
Oh, yes. In fact, I'm planning for the next future audiobook. I've been working with Logan, too, because she's very good, like I said, with her channel, Helvetica does. They use comic books. It is like a comic book scene. Yeah. Nothing's moving. Nothing's there. But she has put in... They have sound effects. They have, background music. You think this thing is a real life thing. And she has showed me you find it for free, copyright free, all of that. And we've been talking a lot about, there's these programs coming out, that are text to speech. And, for audiobooks. Or not audiobooks, for books.
Yeah.
You have your phone and they have the camera. They could just read it and then it reads it back to you. And that's kind of scary, because what does that mean for audiobooks now? If people can just get this app and do that. And also, there's this new thing out about artificial intelligent narrators.
Yeah.
They don't need real narrators anymore. And we talked about that, and she said she's talked about it with her other VAs and her friends, and she's like, this is scary. What does that mean for us in our careers? Because now she goes, it does a little bit, you don't have the voices and you don't have from a real person, but with technology, they're always on the rise, always new. So what's it going to take? And now I'm thinking, what's now audiobooks? What's the next level for us, for authors? So it's like, are we going to be like full-blown radio shows now? Like back from the 40s, what's it going to take? But I'm very interested to try that maybe in the next audiobook coming out, because she showed me how to do it and how you can give them, in an audiobook, we can still give them their credit. Okay. And, you just mention in like the title when an audiobook comes on, you just say, this is everything. And so we're going to try to do something like that and just kind of see how that goes in the market.
Nice. I want to tap into artificial intelligence just a little bit more, because I feel like this is a conversation more of us self-publishers and authors need to have. Because, there's definitely pros and cons to that. But before I do jump into that, I want to make sure that we kind of button up a little bit of my understanding of your audiobook right now. So you've made like a $2,900 investment in this audiobook. So I imagine it being successful is probably the very first thing on your mind. Do you expect to see a return on your investment? If so, how soon do you think that would happen?
I already have people wanting it, because I've actually gone back into the live chats with the people, with the fans of Helvetica Dubs, and told them now Bubba has joined. And now they are like, is this out already? And not only from the fans of Helvetica Dubs, but like I have these two authors, two narrators, they come in, we become good friends, we talk, just leisurely, and they're telling me their parents, their families, they're wanting to buy all of the, these copies, but they have to tell them, Mom, hey, this isn't the 80s and the 90s where, they're on disc, it's all digital. Yeah. But, so I see it very much because like I said, I've already gotten people coming in, they've already pre-ordered the book. They want it to be on Audible. And I've told them, mentioned about Spotify, but Spotify could probably be maybe later, I think, sometime this year. I don't know exactly when they're going to hook up with, when that will come out with Find a Way. But I've already had people looking for it, and they want it. So I think pretty soon. I think the audiobook is probably going to surpass my book sales.
Nice. That's a good thing. So, with it being about 8 hours long, what's your pricing strategy on something like this? Are you going to have it at a set static rate, or do you think you will launch at a lower amount and then increase as time goes on? Let me know what your thoughts are.
Right. Well, I know in Find a Way, they give you kind of like, they try to help out authors in that they set like, hey, you should price it at this. Yeah. And they have how much money. And they say I should have priced it like at $9.46. If I price it at $10, I'd probably only make about $4, maybe $3. With all that I had to do with the editing myself, all of that, I priced it at $15. I'll see how that goes. Yeah. Now, I have a lot of people saying, I'll pay it. For this voice actor, I'll pay it. Yeah. So I'm like, cool. But I'll see how the sales go. If it doesn't like sell as much and they're like, hey, I love it, but I can't afford it, I'll go down to 10 and just see how that will go. That helps it in any way.
So this is pretty interesting because you've got a built-in following already as an author, but now you've brought people in to collaborate with you that have a following as well. So it kind of brings up a great point. And I think this, perfectly leads over to discussing things about AI, because obviously AI seems very sexy. It seems very interesting. Like, oh my gosh, maybe I can just get that. It's going to be so much more cheap. But I guess there's something to be said about going with a human narrator, because there's more people invested in that than, say, some software. It's not like someone's going to go buy your book because they're like, oh, S.L. Michaels, she's got this next audiobook coming out. She used this software for it. I want to get it. As opposed to, oh, they're part of this community. This is a human being. I like this person. I want to hear it. So what are your thoughts on that, juxtaposition, using AI versus using a human?
For me, I'm more leaning towards human. I love, because they can add, as of now, they can add the voice. They have the voices. They can come off with the British accent. They can come off with whatever this character is. Mm-hmm. And you said, they have the following. They give it the more personal touch that it needs to tell the story. As of now, they sound amazing, but it doesn't give you that. Now, if you're doing more, I say nonfiction, that would be great. That could be great. But when you're telling a story, you got to be a storyteller. You have to do that. So I know AI also people are looking at it because of the price.
Yeah.
It is a little bit cheaper because it's just a computer. It just reads. They don't get tired. They don't need a break. They don't need water or whatever. So it does. But to me, I think you get a little bit more personality with a human, with a real actual voice actor.
Yeah, agreed. So we've got a big issue, and it comes by way of ACX, because ACX, I believe, has this inside their terms of service that artificial intelligence isn't allowed. The only reason I found out about this is because I created a false positive. I had a fantastic narrator at some point or another. I went through Findaway Voices and it tripped up something in the ACX system. All that to say this, they thought it was AI, but it actually was real. And it turned out it was actually a completely different book with the same title. Okay, all that to say this, that it's part of the TOS that we can't use that AI, but do you foresee that the product will become better and maybe ACX will walk back that decision not to use AI?
See, they might. It really all kind of depends too, because for self-published authors, like I said, the pricing.
Yeah.
That is why a lot are really like, whoa, we're stepping back from. A lot of them are doing it, themselves. For me, I'm like, my character was a 17-year-old girl. I don't think I have, I'm 35 years old. I don't have that young voice that I was looking for, and I was so hard on myself because recording myself, I'm like, no, it shouldn't be this, and it was just taking up too much time and everything. So I said, I like this voice. I want to do this voice. She's a professional. So there is that, but that's with the money aspect. And I think eventually ACX, they might be like, well, they might lose. I don't, because this is self-publishing. They might say, well, we'll allow it for eventually, because who knows, pretty soon maybe traditional publishing they might take this on. You never know.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. So do you see artificial intelligence narration as good or bad right now?
Right now, I don't really say it's good or bad, but it's just kind of on what you're looking at, what you're looking for. If you're looking for a fiction storytelling, that you're going to it's not going to be for you. It won't. And for right now, I think your best bet is to look for a real human voice. If you're looking for, nonfiction, I say go for it. If that's what you need, if that's what you're looking for, hey, go for it. If it's money, cost, go for it.
Nice. All right, I got one question to wrap up today's podcast, and that's going to be, what are your distribution avenues that you're currently going to use? I know you mentioned Findaway Voices. Do you plan on going anywhere else beyond that platform, or are you going to stay exclusive to Findaway Voices?
Right now, and I was just thinking about it today, I am on Findaway Voices. I would love to try because it is available. I have a website coming out. I would love to try to also tap in. It ties in with Lulu with their distribution. I would love to have just to kind of to see how that works. I know I'm using this Wix is what I'm using as my internet. The provider thing is Wix, and you could add digital products on as well. So I'd like to see how that goes as well. But other than that, just Findaway Voices and their avenues of distribution.
Yeah, they're fantastic. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And they're Ohio-based. You can't beat that, right?
Right. Well, I'm a Florida girl, Dale. So.
Gotcha. What kind of piece of advice would you give to anybody that's new to this business, that's getting into audiobooks? What's something that you would give to them for advice? Something you learned in the process?
Don't be afraid. And don't be afraid to ask. I was, terrified to ask especially my narrator Logan. Because I didn't know how big she was in popularity and pricing. But don't be afraid. Go for it. If this is something you're passionate about, I love audiobooks. I've always loved anything audio with a story. I grew up listening, though I grew up in the 80s, but I don't know if you remember the books. It was Disney. They would have the books with the cassette tapes. I loved that.
Yep.
You would hear all that. I loved it. So if you're passionate about it, go for it. It's something that if you want, just do it. Don't be afraid. And hey, if it's money, they try to find a avenue. I learned how to edit my own audiobook. If you need to do your voice work, do it. Don't be afraid of it. Just do it, and don't be afraid. Just have the courage just to do it.
Special thanks to Samantha. I really appreciate you carving a little bit of time out your day to share a little bit of your experience in publishing your first audiobook. Folks, if you found some value in what Samantha had to share with you, make sure you visit her YouTube channel at SL Michaels on YouTube. Hit that subscribe button, and you're going to be able to find a little bit more 411 that you wouldn't normally get from me. Big thanks to you for tuning on in, and I will see you in next week's interview segment.